Hey, how's it going, everyone? Sam here, your host, back again for a brand new episode of a new segment called Cult Movie Mania. A show where I'm going to showcase some recent stuff I picked up from my personal collection. That's all things that don't quite fit in the box of like horror or sci-fi, But first, a little upkeep. Again, my name's Sam. We do this show every single Monday. Feel free to like and subscribe, share with your friends. Drop a comment with some cool recommendations. I love scoping out new stuff and I want to share it. So please, let's talk, friends. Let's talk about some cool stuff. If you're into heavy metal music, film scores, or just like weird movies, then this is a channel where I kind of showcase all that kind of stuff. But speaking of which, let's get to that cool stuff. So I have 3 picks for you guys today. And like I said, I'm going for the term cult cinema because I prefer to say bizarro, but no one really looks up bizarro, so cult it is. And these films contain elements of like horror and sci-fi and thriller, but they don't do it. It wouldn't do it those films justice just leaving it on those genre tags. So if you have a little poster on your wall of a big family tree with all the genre tags, you just rip it down, put your foot through it, toss it in the trash, maybe light a fire. It might be cold out where you are, warm up a little bit. Let's talk about some off the beaten path, pretty well known, but still pretty cool movies. Let's get into it. I got 3 things again, but the first 2 kind of go hand in hand. So I'm going to do a little like 1-2 punch. And those, first one is Arrow Video's Solid Metal Nightmares, the films of Shinya Tsukamoto, this box set, as well as Mondo Macabro's limited edition release of Shinya Tsukamoto's Gemini. Shinya Tsukamoto, in case you can't tell, I'm a big fan. I love the movie Tetsuo, huge fan. I first saw it back in 2005 when Rue Morgue ran a cover story on Shinya Tsukamoto and like the nightmare cinema of Shinya Tsukamoto. So back in 2005, I was a junior in high school going on senior. I was already well into horror cinema and just kind of like exploring more like weirder movies, So I know it's high school, so you might think this taste is a bit basic, but we don't do any gatekeeping on this channel. But for instance, the movie Pi was a really big deal for me. I thought that movie was incredible when I first saw it. Loved the score, kinetic photography, the story. I was like, oh, that's weird, trying to figure out the number of God or whatever. We're drilling in the brain. I thought it was just really cool. I thought it was absolutely amazing, such a singular vision, and it just looks so DIY that like anyone could do it, So when I saw Tetsuo, back to that Rue Morgue cover story, you gotta remember this was kind of in the full swing of the whole J-horror craze. The Ring had already come out, and now they were kind of like ushering in anything even remotely J-horror-esque. So Tartan Asia Extreme was pretty much responsible. They brought out films like Old Boy and Battle Royale, John Woo stuff like Hard Boiled, A Tale of Two Sisters, The Eye, all kinds of stuff. And that cover story from Rue Morgue was kind of promoting this movie, Tetsuo. So Tartan put out this like set. It was Tetsuo the Iron Man, and it came in this like metallic sleeve that you could take out, and it came with a bonus CD of music inspired by Tetsuo. And this included artists like Gary Newman, Zero Mancer, Frontline Assembly. And this is all very fitting because at this point in my life, I was really getting into cyberpunk fiction. I was really trying to explore more weirder, outsider, bizarre movies. And I was also really discovering my love and exploring my love for industrial and electronic music. And this movie encapsulates all of the above. This one has such a DIY aesthetic that looked like anyone can make a movie like this. It has an incredible score by Chu Ishikawa, which is something I still think about to this day. It has an absolutely nightmarish stop motion scene, which has always stuck with me and that I watch over and over and over and over when I first saw this movie. And just the movie in general, it had such a profound impact on me. I just didn't know you could make movies like this. I didn't know that you could make a movie that was like 67 minutes. It's a short movie. I didn't know you could make a movie like you could just put out something like that and be like, this is a movie, this is what I made. And I know people throw the cyberpunk tag on Tetsuo, and like it's definitely like beta cyberpunk, as in the same way that something like Burst City is. But whereas like Burst City is more on the punk spectrum of cyberpunk, this one's definitely more on the cyber. Like there's no like computer hacking, but there's a lot of wires and metal and just like this post-industrial wasted landscape, which is, you know, a theme that's obviously very popular in cyberpunk literature and film. So this movie is absolutely incredible. And the box set itself, as you can see, has a whole bunch of movies that I haven't seen. So like I've seen Tetsuo 2, and I've seen A Snake of June, I've seen Vital, I've seen Haze, but like Tokyo Fist and Bullet Ballet are two big staples that I've never seen. And Kotoko and Killing are two films that I didn't know existed until this box set came out. So I guess at a certain point, my Tsukamoto fandom kind of peaked and leveled, and I just stopped hearing about him. So I'm super pumped that Arrow came out with this box set. Also pumped that they included this like hardcover book, you know? Text, full color pictures, you know, stuff like that. I think probably the best part about buying a Criterion movie outside of buying a movie is the booklet that it comes with. And Mondo Macabro does the exact same thing. This is a limited edition set. It's some numbers out of some bigger numbers. And it comes, like Criterion, and like Arrow, it comes this little booklet right here. And again, you know, black and white, full color pictures, written by Tom Mez, who also wrote this book, Iron Man, The Cinema of Shinya Tsukamoto, a book I got for Christmas one day back in like, I think maybe high school, maybe early college. Whenever this book was published, I was just like, Christmas list, and bam, Santa pulled through. So again, here he is, Tom Mez popping back up. I guess he's a Tsukamoto expert for now. You better watch yourself, Tom. I'm coming for you. But to be honest, I am like so happy. 2020 is a dumpster fire of a year, but if you're a Shinya Tsukamoto fan, it's an excellent year. Both these releases are Region A from North America, so I'm really hoping that, like, due to the success of these films, that maybe other companies or the same companies will pick up his other titles and kind of push him out too. Hiroku the Goblin, a movie that is like notoriously just like out of print, that'd be great to have on home video. Something like Tetsuo 3 or even like Nightmare Detective would be really cool too. I would love to collect them all, to be honest. Gemini is a great film. I'm not super familiar with Mondo Macabro. I know they have a lot of like Euro sleaze and like cannibal kind of stuff, and like those are two genres that like I like reading about more than I like collecting or watching. But I know that they're having a sale pretty soon this month, November. So I'm definitely going to peep it because, you know, maybe they have more kind of like outsider Japanese stuff. And if they do, would love to pick that up. Same goes for Arrow. There's currently a Barnes & Noble Criterion sale at the moment. And while they do that, they also run an Arrow sale. So if you're into this, they might be having this on sale as well. Again, solid metal nightmares of films of Shinya Tsukamoto, and Gemini, another film by Shinya Tsukamoto. I'm a big Tsukamoto head, huge fan, super stoked to have these in my collection. Honestly, don't remember much of Gemini outside of like a well, so I'm kind of excited to experience this for like the first time again. So that's pretty cool. And my next one that I want to share with you guys, it's a movie that's been out for a while, and it's Mandy. I don't know what else to say about Mandy that you already don't know. This is like a special like limited like tin set. I'm not a huge like tin collector. I know this first came out like on a standard Blu-ray, and I kind of avoided buying it because I was hoping that like a bigger like set would come out, which never did. So this is kind of like the only option right now. It's pretty slim on features, but again, you know, the company behind it, Spectre Vision, is someone I really want to support, and I really want to support this movie because I absolutely love this movie. If something like Tetsuo perfectly personifies my interests of like electronic and industrial music, cyberpunk, DIY like punk aesthetics, then Mandy absolutely does that in a different way. It perfectly exemplifies horror, late night adult swim humor, dark fantasy, prog rock, and heavy metal. The score, that beautiful score by Johan Johansson, R.I.P., and what is it? I think like one of the members of Sun, It's just like phenomenal score. Oh, can you see it? It's kind of hard. It's like one of those Mandy, there we go. Very cool. But Mandy, I can't get enough of this movie. Panos Cosmatos put out Beyond the Black Rainbow, a movie that blew my mind. Again, in terms of just being like such a singular, unique film, but also the music. The score to Beyond the Black Rainbow is fantastic. The score for Mandy is fantastic. The movie Mandy is absolutely insane. It's kind of like, I keep bringing up Tetsuo, but you know, it's kind of like Tetsuo, where like calling this just like a horror film just doesn't do it justice. You know, it's so much more. It's so much more subversive too. It is such a subversive movie when it wants to be. And I think that's something that's really, really important. I think that's something that I feel like horror fandom is so conservative, and I feel like a lot of the issues inside that community aren't necessarily answered in this movie. But in terms of like female like representation, I think that this movie kind of takes some of those old staples and turns them on their head. And I think that's kind of why there are a lot of people in the horror community who are so kind of like adverse to it. You know, maybe they don't like the idea of like some old Jeremiah Sands character standing naked, presenting his body only to have the female character mock him. But personally, I think it's pretty awesome. And you know, there's some like, I don't want to say flaws. There's some tropes in this movie that I think would be better off if like they weren't in it at all. But overall, the film as a whole, I think, is absolutely incredible, and I think it has a lot to say. And I think it's going to be not only a great midnight movie, but I think it's going to be a movie that will provide people with a lot of, I don't know how to describe it. I just feel like this is the kind of movie you're going to read in textbooks one day. I feel like this movie has a lot to offer, and people are only just beginning to kind of like pick at it and realize it. I know there's a lot of people who are much smarter than me who realize this upon like first exiting the theater. I'm a bit slow on that upkeep, but it's a really special, honestly kind of magical movie. There's nothing like this movie. There's absolutely nothing like this movie. It's kind of like if you took, I don't know, if like Andrei Tarkovsky took a bunch of drugs and passed out at a metal club and woke up the next day. Like that kind of slow haze kind of feels like this movie. It's violent when it wants to be. It's funny when it needs to be. But it's also emotionally scarring when it wants to be as well. It is such a unique, I keep saying the same words. You know, it's just like one of those things that like it's been talked about to death, but like I just got to throw my 2 cents in there, and I just got to say like Mandy is one of the best films of the decade. It's neck and neck for me with Mad Max Fury Road is probably my favorite. But this one probably, I think it might just inch out just a little bit more on top. So again, if you haven't seen it, it's Panos Cosmatos' film Mandy. It's an absolute must-see. If you're into cult cinema, if you're into midnight movies, you have to see this movie. If you're someone who's like, oh, no one will shut up about it, and it kind of turns you off of it, I get that. It happens to me too. But you need to see this movie, and once you see it, you will absolutely understand. So again, Panos Cosmatos, Mandy, big fan. He has a episode on Elijah Woods and Elijah's producer partner for SpectreVision, their Visitations podcast. They have an episode of him, and it's absolutely worth watching. So, to be honest, that kind of wraps up today. I'm trying to keep it a little short, you know, show some movies. I'm super stoked to check these out. I haven't seen these films, any of the ones below, for quite a while, so I'm pretty stoked to jump into them and check them out again. And I hope that you guys at home do too. So again, hey, check out, stay tuned. Later this week, I'm going to drop a second video about some more record stuff, you know. And then come back again next Monday for a new home video episode. Is it cult movies? Is it horror movies? Probably both. But most importantly, hey guys, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for hanging out and watching this. Thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing with your friends. It means a lot to me. And I just want to say thank you guys. You guys rule. So again, I'm Sam. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you guys later this week. Take care.